What knitting dreams are made out of, essentially. Well, hello there and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well wherever you are in the world. And yes, I am back with but another regular episode. Regular as in where I sit down and chat with you about what I've been working on and, some life stuff. I am, as always, very happy to be sitting down chatting all the knitting with you. And this week I have some extracurricular crafty deviations to share with you. Quilting. That said, gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's get into the nitty gritty of things. This is a project that I have been putting a lot of elbow grease into, and I don't think I even shared the cast on process with you. I chatted a little bit about it on Vlogmas and have been sharing my progress here and there, but never really officially established that it has been cast on this particular type of episode. So without further ado, may I present to you my Calla Shawl. And of course I am mid-row. But this is the Calla Shawl, a wonderful pattern by Natasja Hornby. And it was featured in Lina Magazine issue 7, I believe, which came out several years ago, but it has been on my Ravelry queue for quite some time. I've been itching to cast it on, and I don't know what happened. I don't know what was in the water, but I was scrolling my Ravelry queue, and this popped out at me, and I was like, yes, today's the day. I'm going to cast that shawl on. Although that day I was not able to because I didn't have the yarn. So as I mentioned, I hopped onto Webb's yarn store online, and they happened to be having a sale because I think it was like in or around the Black Friday timeline. Anyway, they were having a sale, and I treated myself to some absolutely delicious yarn, which I believe I showed you on the last episode, but here we are again. The yarn is Lamana Como, and it's 100% superfine merino, and holy cow, guys, this is butter. It is so wonderful to knit with. It is so soft, so buttery, so wonderfully next to skin. This is perfect yarn for this shawl. I believe it's DK weight as the pattern calls for, but honestly, it kind of reminds me of a fingering weight. But either way, it's, knitting up beautifully, and the colorway is this glorious charcoal gray, and there you go. Of course, I'm dropping stitches. It's so soft, and it goes so well with this waffle texture that's featured in the pattern. And can we talk about the calla lily motif in here? So pretty, guys. I'm loving knitting on this so much. It is, I'm not gonna lie, it is a little involved, especially when you get to these little calla lily motifs. But I find that I am able to kind of watch TV or YouTube videos and look down at my work, look up, look down. For the waffle section, it's completely smooth sailing, autopilot knit. I can, I don't have to watch what my hands are doing, but yeah, when I get to the calla lily motif, it's all hands on deck. I've got to be paying attention to what's happening. It's not to the point where I'm constantly having to look at the chart. It's not like that at all. It is very intuitive, where it's like I can memorize the pattern. I just have to watch what my fingers are doing when I'm cabling. I did go down in needle size because the pattern calls for a US size 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter needle. I did cast on with that needle size, and then as I was knitting, I realized that the fabric was just a little too loosey-goosey for me, so I downsized to a US 6, 4 millimeter. And yeah, the fabric is much better in my opinion. I would definitely call this a process project knit, where it's like I'm enjoying the process, but I'm also really looking forward to being done with it so I can actually wear it. Because yeah, I'm definitely craving a nice, neutral, solid shawl in my wardrobe. So that is the Calla Shawl by Natasja Hornby. Practically flying off my needles. And in case you're wondering, yeah, the elephant sitting in the room is my Damiaka Lopa cardigan. This is a pattern that I knit in tandem with Ellie of Skeindeer Knits, who also has a YouTube channel, which if you haven't checked out her channel yet, please go check it out. She is wonderful and a dear friend. I will link to her channel below. But a couple years ago, we decided to have a knit along where we knit the Damiaka Lopa, a pattern by Pinay Gori. And I have to admit, this, I did accidentally shrink it in the wash. And, I'm not throwing Ellie under the bus because she's all about tossing her knitwear into the wash, especially non-superwash yarns, because in the UK, I think UK washer dryers differ from those in the US, unless it's just my particular washer dryer system. But when she threw her Damiaka Lopa into the wash, I think you can set the temperature so it's gentle and, anyway, not her fault, but stupid me was like, oh, she can do it, I can do it. So I tossed this cardigan into the washer and set it on gentle mode, set it on cool mode, but for some reason, I mean, I can still wear it. That's the good news, but it does feel a bit snug on me, and it did felt ever so slightly, which is a shame because I really, truly do love this cardigan. It was my first steeking project, the first project that I ever steeked where, you knit the entire thing in the round and then you cut up the center. I'll try and link to that video somewhere up in the doobly-doo. But yes, so many happy, wonderful memories baked into the sweater. I almost want to knit another one just because I love the color scheme happening in here. The yarn that I used is Jameson Spindrift, a combination actually. Jameson Spindrift and Jameson Jumper Weight, I don't know. The two have very similar names. They're both fingering and you can definitely knit with them interchangeably, but that's what's baked into this lovely cardigan. But yeah, as I mentioned, I definitely am toying with the idea of knitting another one, an identical one, maybe even in a size larger, because initially this was a very snug cardigan. Before I accidentally shrunk it, it was already a bit snug on me and was kind of regretting not knitting a size up, but it fit. It fit and I loved it and I wore it. And, unfortunately, because it shrunk a little bit, I don't really wear it as much. So when I do wear it, usually it's here on the channel because I get to wear it and show it off and talk about it. So anyway, but yes, that is what I'm wearing today, the Damiaka Lopa cardigan by Pinay Gori. Yeah, and I'll do a little spinny spin for you guys so you can see. Whee! Love it. So yes, moving along to other works in progress. This is my Koru Pullover, a pattern by Johanna. I'm sorry. I think over the weekend I had a come to Jesus moment with this project because, while I'm thoroughly enjoying the pattern and seriously want this pullover in my wardrobe, truth be told, I have not felt the urge to work on this. And it has nothing to do with the pattern. It has nothing to do with my knitting mojo. I think it really has to come down to the yarn and pattern combination. The yarn that I'm using to knit this is by Shibui Knits. It's their pebble base. And yeah, as I say every week, it's divine. It's just a combination of 48% recycled silk, 36% fine merino, and 16% cashmere. What knitting dreams are made out of, essentially. So what is wrong, Kristen? Why are you having issues with this pattern? This is gonna sound so ridiculous, but if you watch this channel, you know that I'm not really a fan of the color blue. I mean, don't get me wrong, blue has its place. It's a beautiful color and I appreciate it. I just don't, personally, I don't enjoy wearing the color blue. I don't feel it flatters me so often. And this colorway is called Dusk. And online, it did look like a, dusky slate gray. And, it is, but in some lights, it's one of those colorways where you look at it and you're like, is that blue or gray? So whenever I'm knitting on this, I just cannot get it out of my head that this is denim blue. I just kept telling myself, get over it, Kristen. It's not denim blue. It's gray. Just pair it with a certain color and you won't even think it's blue. But no. My own personal brand of crazy, guys. I just cannot accept that this is gray. It is blue. It's going to be a beautiful sweater, but I know I'm just not going to gravitate towards wanting to wear it. So I was honest with myself and said, you know what? I'm just gonna frog it. I'm gonna frog it and repurpose the yarn. Dennis needs a new scarf, and what better scarf would this yarn make? Holy cow, guys. I haven't decided on what pattern yet, but I think he's going to appreciate a scarf out of this yarn muchly. So don't tell him. But I know, it's a really sad tale of woe about the fate of this sweater, guys. But I do want to revisit it with another yarn, most likely another gray or even, dare I say, black. I know this totally came out of left field, but when you have a gut feeling, it's really important to just listen to your gut because Anyway, that, my friends, is all the knitting content I have to share with you. To be honest, I'm very surprised that I got that much knitting done on my Calla Shawl. It's a good flow when you just can't put down a project. But there were some other crafty endeavors that happened over the weekend. And as you know, I have a very strong love-hate relationship with sewing. I have the urge to do it and then I just get frustrated. But I realize that really only comes with sewing garments. I've come to terms with the fact that sewing garments at this point in my life is just not in the cards. But that won't stop me from doing other sewing projects like sewing project bags or quilts. And yeah, over the weekend, I just decided, I got the urge. I don't know where these urges come from. They just come. And 9 out of 10, I just embrace them. So yeah, woke up on Sunday and I just said, I'm going to sew a quilt. So that is what I did. As you know, I've started quilts and haven't really finished them, but I got it in my head where it's like, okay, I have a couple charm packs and I have a couple layer cakes in my stash that I want to use up eventually. So why don't I just use one of those charm or layer cakes and make a small project instead of tackling these large grandois projects like, I don't know, a king size quilt. Yeah, that project is not coming to fruition. So I decided to abandon that project and use this one remaining layer cake, which if you're not familiar, quilting bundles of fabric that come pre-cut, they have these really funny dessert names. So for example, a pack of 5x5 squares like this is called a charm pack. And yeah, this one, I was thinking about using this one. It's called Tonga Treats and they have this really beautiful combination of peachy oranges all the way down to turquoises and blues. Really beautiful batiks in here. So yeah, this is what you call a charm pack. And then I also had a layer cake. A layer cake is a pack of 10-inch pre-cut squares. And this is by Her in History from Art Gallery Fabrics. And yeah, so let me show you what I made. I don't know how this happened, but I finished a quilt top. The quilt top is finished. I'm gonna stand back so you can see this in all its full glory. And the idea was, again, a small project. I had no idea that this was going to turn out to be this big, but yeah, here we are. It's a giant square lap blanket, my friends. I didn't do a final measurement yet, but I believe it's around like a 60-inch square. But it's delightfully scrappy. And again, yeah, the fabric layer cake that I used was by Art Gallery Fabrics, the Her in History color story or print story. I don't know what you call them, but yeah, it just spoke to me and it just makes my heart sing, guys. I absolutely love this. But this is my first legit big quilt. I did finish a smaller baby quilt several years ago, I think like 2-3 years ago, that I gifted to my cat, and she absolutely adores it. This is the first quilt I ever made and finished. And yeah, as you can see, it's just a tiny little baby square blanket, and there are so many mistakes in here. Here's the back, really simple, really quick to whip up, and ever since then I've just been trying to tackle these ginormous quilt projects that just, never come to fruition. And I don't know why. I think it's my attention span. I think I need to work on smaller projects just to hold my attention, because I get bored very easily, I'm not gonna lie, especially when it comes to quilting, because the process is so monotonous and repetitive. There's not a lot of room for variation depending on the pattern that you choose. And this project, for this quilt, I used a disappearing 9-block pattern. And it's a free pattern that I found through another website. Anyway, it linked to Jenny Doan of Missouri Star Quilt Company's website, where she has a whole video tutorial on how to create a disappearing 9-block quilt. And guys, it's super easy. So easy. I mean, this looks like I had put so much work into it. One disappearing 9-block square took me anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes to complete from start to finish. That's, piecing together each individual square, sewing them together, splicing it in half, and then rotating it and sewing that together. And it took 16 of those blocks to make this quilt. So, you do the math. It came together really, really quickly. But I think it helped that I did indulge myself and took, I think, Monday morning and Tuesday morning just to sew my heart out. And yeah, here we are. Yesterday, I added the border. It's this really pretty rose pattern up here. It almost has like a cross stitch texture to it in the print. So yeah, we have a quilt top, my friends. I surprise myself sometimes. I'm actually really, really proud of myself. I honestly I wasn't sure if I was actually going to finish it, or I thought it would take me forever, but no, I struck while the iron was hot, guys. The sojo was there, and I seized it. I seized it, and very glad that I did. So the next step is the actual quilting, where I get to make a quilt sandwich, if you will, where it's like I have to add the backing, lay the backing down, and then in the middle, the batting is gonna go in, and then the quilt is gonna go on top of that, so we have a nice quilty sandwich. And then this is going to be interesting because I've never done this before, with the exception of Bella's quilt. With that one, it was more stitch in the ditch, where if you look closely, to quilt this, I basically just stitched in the ditch. So I just stitched all the way down every seam to quilt it. And there are several methods of doing this, but for this one I'm actually going to try a freehand squiggle quilting effect. I do have a foot for my sewing machine for freehand quilting, so I'm going to try a little practice swatch first before I dive into this. So yeah, quilting. Who am I? Where is Kristen? What have you done with her? I have no idea. But yeah, I can get down with quilting, guys. I think it's a lot of fun. So anyway, again, I'm just so proud of myself that I actually finished it. Well, it's not completely done yet, but onto the next steps. This is I want to say half the battle, maybe a little bit more than half the battle. But yeah. Anyway, can totally see myself making more quilts in the near future. I've been bitten by the bug. So. Anyway, I'll follow that up later. I believe I have waffled on for much too long, so I'm gonna end things there. Thank you so much, as always, for hanging out with me, and if you're new here, welcome to my little corner of the interwebs. I'm putting out videos for your viewing pleasure every week, and if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to like and subscribe down below. And until the next video, happy knitting, happy sewing, happy making all the things, and I will see you next time. Bye!